Hello fellow mind travelers and welcome to today's video. I wanted to start really quickly by letting you guys know that I recently did some updates to my website, letsmindtravel.com, which I put a link to in the description, so make sure to go check that out. And while you're over there, if you find anything that you like, I also included a discount code, and make sure to sign up for my mailing list for future giveaways. Now let's get into today's video, where we will explore one of my favorite topics of all times, pyramids, and more specifically the Great Pyramid of Giza, located at the Giza complex in Egypt, which is said to be mankind's greatest architectural accomplishment to date. So let's quickly go over the specs of the Great Pyramid of Giza. It is exactly the center of the landmass of the world. So not the center of the world, because if the world is a ball, of course, any point can be the center, but as far as the landmass goes, the Great Pyramid is exactly in the center. It stands at over 480 feet tall. Each side is over 750 feet, making the base of the pyramid over 592,000 square feet, or just over 13 acres. It consists of over 2.3 million blocks, with the larger ones weighing anywhere between 3 all the way up to 70 tons, and the pyramid weighs a total of over 6 million tons. The foundation is leveled out so perfectly that from corner to corner there is not a variance of more than 1/2 inch, a task that up until recent decades we couldn't even accomplish. It was once cased and covered in a white limestone so reflective and perfectly smooth that it could be seen all the way from outer space. Experts have estimated that it took 20 years with 20,000 people working non-stop to complete the Great Pyramid. And in recent discoveries, it shows that there are tunnels and cavities underneath the pyramids that still have no modern day explanation. Only speculation, like so many things surrounding the Great Pyramid of Giza. And that's why in this series, I will be going over all the major questions that surround the Great Pyramid of Giza. When was it built? Why was it built? Who built it? And what are all the secrets encoded within it? I'll be uploading videos as well as doing live streams that I'll be keeping on the channel so you guys can check them out afterwards, where I'll be answering questions and diving even deeper into that week's topic. To kick off the series, we're going to be talking about why were they built and going over what the purpose of them could have been. So let's talk about a couple of these popular theories. We're going to start by going over the most popular theory, which is that the Pyramid of Giza is a giant tomb. Egyptologists believe that the pyramid was built as a tomb for the 4th dynasty Egyptian pharaoh Khufu, and that Khufu's advisor, Hemiunu, was the architect of the Great Pyramid. Within the pyramids, there are tunnels that go to 3 separate chambers. Underground, you have the base chamber, and then within the pyramid, there are the queen chamber and the king's chamber. And in the king's chamber is where you will find a giant granite coffer, which some are calling the sarcophagus that at one point allegedly housed the pharaoh Khufu's body. Now, of course, there's issues with the tomb theory. There's no wall art or hieroglyphics within these chambers that would signify that they were tombs. There's no mummies. There's no intricate coffins, only this large granite coffer that we see, and there's no artifacts. There is, however, some good reasons on why we maybe can't find these things, because grave robbers were such a big problem at this time. So big that it's believed that the Valley of the Kings in Egypt was built specifically because of it. The Valley of the Kings is a place that you can find a lot of pharaohs with wall art all over the walls, intricate coffins, mummies, and beautiful art everywhere. Now, the grave robber still doesn't explain why there wouldn't be hieroglyphics on the wall, but it does answer a few questions. Now let's go over our second theory, that the Great Pyramid was a giant power plant meant to produce wireless electricity. Now, I know what you're saying, electricity has only existed for the last couple of centuries, but in 1934 in Iraq, 3 artifacts were discovered together that were very interesting. A ceramic pot, a tube of copper, and a rod of iron, which when combined with a liquid acid, such as lemon juice, can be used to create a chemical reaction that would produce an electrical charge. This discovery would go on to be named the Baghdad Battery, and when they dated the artifacts were found to be over 2,000 years old, only proving that our ancestors had the access to technology far beyond what we thought they had. Now let's talk a little bit about the materials that were used on the pyramids. Dolomite was used on the inner surfaces of the pyramid, and it is known to create electrical conductivity directly relative to the amount of pressure on it. And being inside of the pyramid, I would imagine there was a tremendous amount of pressure on this dolomite. Multiple types of limestone were used that have very high insulating properties. And another material used on the inside of the pyramids was granite, which was able to ionize the air within the shafts of the pyramid. And why are these 3 materials so important? Well, dolomite, limestone, and granite are all things that could be found in electrical wire. Another important factor to take into account would be water. At the time the pyramid was built, the Nile River flowed directly underneath it, and the high volume of water that would have passed through its channels could have easily created an electrical current, known as physioelectricity, Basically, electricity created through movement, just like any waterfall that creates electricity, like the Niagara Falls for instance. And the really cool fact is it is believed that Nikola Tesla actually copied the layout for the shafts within the pyramids in his Colorado power plant, where the main goal was creating wireless electricity. And if true, with the kind of track record that Nikola Tesla had, I would highly doubt that this was coincidental. The third theory we're going to be talking about is that the Great Pyramid was nothing more than a giant grain mill. Yes, just a big thing to hold grain. This theory was famously perpetuated by 2016 presidential candidate Ben Carson, when a clip surfaced of him from 1998 giving a speech at the Anderson University in Michigan, where he claimed that the Great Pyramid was built by the biblical figure Joseph when he was enslaved by the Egyptians, and it was used just to store the grain mill. He believes that the chambers were hermetically sealed to preserve the grain that was stored within. And way before Ben Carson said this, in the 6th century there was a bishop named Saint Gregory of Tours that also believed that the pyramid was just a large grain mill, stating that they were wide at the bottom and narrow at the top, so the wheat was able to cast through them. And these granaries are to be seen in present day. So obviously, they're wide at the bottom, they're narrow at the top. It is believed that he was speaking about the pyramids, and being a granary would be a place that grain would be stored. So yes, he also believed that the pyramid was a big grain mill. This theory sounds pretty impractical to me, mainly because the inside of the pyramid is not hollow, it mainly consists of stones and bricks, and to build something this large that would only be able to hold a small amount of grain seems pretty impractical to me. Now of course it sounds crazy, but people do believe it, so I wanted to include it in this video. And now for our fourth theory, which is my personal favorite, and that is that the pyramid is a monument that encodes sacred information. Now, of course, this could be something that the pyramid is in addition to a tomb, a power plant, or even a grain mill. It's the idea that within the actual placement and the measurements of the pyramid, we can decode sacred information about our Earth and the universe. Now, to give you an example of one of the ways that it's believed they encoded information within the pyramid, let's take for instance its geographic coordinate, which is 29.9792458 degrees north. Now, it doesn't sound too crazy until you look at what the speed of light trapped in a vacuum is, and that is 299,792,458 meters per second. So did the ancient Egyptians actually know what the speed of light trapped in a vacuum was, or is it just coincidental? And here are just a few other examples of the kind of information that they encoded within the pyramids. The exact size and shape of the Earth, the exact density and mass of the Earth, the gravitational constant, the golden ratio, the exact mass and density of the sun and the moon, the orbital velocity of the sun and the moon, and the list just goes on and on and on, and it gets crazier and crazier. Now, when it comes to these things, it is important to note that in order to come to a lot of these conclusions, you have to use the metric system. And the Egyptians were famously known for using cubits, which is the average length from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger on a human, which is roughly 18 inches. Other units of measurements that they used would have been digits, which are fingers, and the palm. But you know, if they really wanted us to be able to decode this information and were aware that we would, they were on some crazy next level shit, and I can't imagine that they weren't aware of what the metric system was. So one topic that I know everybody's going to want to talk about that I didn't touch at all is alien involvement with the pyramids. But not to worry, in the How the Pyramids Were Made video later in the series, we'll be going over that extensively. And for this video, fellow mind travelers, that's going to do it on why the pyramids were made. Make sure to comment below why you think they were made. And don't forget to check out my live stream this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific. And if you can't make it, don't worry, I'll keep it on the channel so you can watch it whenever you're free. And until next time, safe travels.